Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of The Spark. I'm Coach David. Hope you're doing fantastic on today. Hope everything is moving in the right direction for you and hope that you are up and at 'em, getting after it day by day, improving your life, making your life everything that you want your life to be. Because after all, you are the architect of your life. And because of that, you can have the life that you want. That is a great thing. I mean, I always feel good saying that and knowing that you can have the life that you desire. So many people are defeated, but they're defeated in their mind before they're ever defeated anywhere else. And I don't want that to happen to you. So realize that you can have the life you want if you make a determination to have the life that you want. That's all it is. It's a state of mind. Listen, I'm glad you're here with me on today. We're going to continue to talk about our mental trap theories. Now, mental traps are things that mentally shut us down before we ever get into doing anything physically or practically. I have been walking you through a couple of lessons dealing with the mental traps. And what we want to do, we want to provide some insight, some help to help you break free from the mental trap, and don't let the mental trap set you up for, a downfall. But in other words, you get going, you get moving, and you break free of that mental trap. And we all have them. Don't think we don't, because we all have mental traps. We just got to work through them. Today, I'm going to talk about mental trap number 3. Now, as a mental performance coach, I often hear people say things like, hey, I want to grow, I want to develop, I want to be better. I hear all of those kind of things, but the truth of the matter is people do want to be a better version of themselves. They want to work through things. That's why they come and get me to help them. And I'm more than happy to do that. But I hear certain things, but in working with athletes, professionals, and students, I've discovered a mental trap that many people use to protect their identity, and it keeps them comfortable. It keeps them in their comfort zone. But what they don't understand, it is hindering them. See, I hear things like this right here. I'm just anxious. I'm just not that disciplined. I can't get out of my own way, and I've always been this way. And I'm just not a people person. I hear all kind of things. I choke under pressure. I hear that a lot from athletes in particular. But here's the truth of the matter. What they are actually doing, they're making a statement to say, this is just who I am. And that's mental trap number 3. This is just who I am. And so we got to be careful, because watch this right here. What you start as a description of how you are can slowly become you. It can become your identity. It can become your prison. And here's the key point that I want to make right here. It is very difficult to get free from jail if you don't know you're in jail. And what I mean by that is this right here. A lot of times we are saying these things and we are thinking these things, and what we understand, those things that we say on an ongoing, consistent basis could be hindering us from having our best. In today's world, people just label themselves. You hear it all the time. I'm this, I'm that. This is just the way I am, And the trick about that, what many people don't understand, is that you're training yourself to be that way. And I want to help you with that on today. Today, I'm going to deal with 3 particular things. Number 1, I'm going to deal with repeated thoughts become your identity. That is the problem. The repeated thoughts, the thoughts that you think on an ongoing, consistent basis, that becomes your identity. Number 2, your identity drives your behavior, especially under pressure. The things you identify with drives your behavior, especially when you're in a pressure situation, like an athlete in a pressure moment in a game, a professional standing in front of a board of directors and giving a brief, a student taking a test. Your identity is going to drive your performance, is going to drive your behavior, what you do under pressure. And then number 3, this is the fix, and I'm really excited about this. Identity can be retrained. We're going to go through all 3 of those, and we're going to kick this mental trap number 3 right in the backside, and we're going to get it out of our life. This is not just how I am. I can change. Let's get going. All right, so I said number 1, repeated thoughts become your identity. Most people don't even realize this. See, here's what's going on in your brain. your brain is memorizing your repetition. Now, let me break that down piece by piece. Our brain wants to make life easier for us. And so that's what it does. It will take things that we do on a repetitious basis, and it will become a pattern in our life, and it will make life easy for us because it's like almost like automatic pilot. One of my classic examples that I like to use is driving. How many times have you been driving and you've gone through a red light or stoplight and you was like, was that light red or was it green? But because of the repetition, the light was green. Because of the repetition of ongoing doing this all the time, a lot of stuff is on autopilot. And when we get on autopilot, if we're not careful, autopilot will take us to places that we don't want to go. And so what we have to understand is that we got to program our autopilot in the correct way in order to get to the destination that we want to go. And so if we are doing that, the things that's programming us is our thoughts. Our repetitious thoughts are programming us. Whatever you say, think, or emotionally rehearse on a repeated basis, your brain begins to accept that as true. That's right. So here's the key point. A label can shape your performance. Yeah. If you say, I always mess up under pressure, your brain starts to prepare to mess up when you're in a pressure situation. And a lot of people don't even know that. The words you repeatedly say to and about yourself, that becomes instructions to your brain. And so now your brain, because it wants to make life easier for us, what your brain will do, your brain will take that on as a way of saying, this is what's supposed to happen. Because of that, now you begin to perform in that manner because, hey, you got to always mess up under pressure because that's what you have trained your brain to go and get for you. Your brain is attempting to make life easier on you. So your brain is taking it in and setting it up so that you will mess up every single time because that's what you say you do. So that's why I'm really careful about the things that I say, the things that I accept. That's why I'm careful about that. Now, here's what we got to understand. If we're not careful, a temporary struggle can become our permanent identity. I'm going to give you a classic one. Weight loss. If you look at weight loss and you say, man, it's just not happening. No matter what I do, I work out, I try to change, I try to food swap, I try to meal prep. If you take that on, then no matter what you do, the weight loss is slow. The weight loss is not happening. That's a temporary struggle because it can change. Here's what I know about people. Today, people are increasingly identifying with their struggles instead of working through them. They say, you know what? It is what it is. This is just how I am. And it's not going to do anything to help. No matter what I do, I'm in the same situation. You have got to be careful of that. Listen closely to this. A struggle is something you experience, not something you become. What? Yes. You are experiencing a struggle. You may be at a plateau. You may be wherever you are right now. That is a experience. Okay. You're experiencing that. Do not allow that to become who you are. Not something that you have to become. A struggle. Yeah. Listen, all people struggle. Like one of my mentors told me one time, he says, you're either going into a storm, you're in the midst of a storm, or you just came out of a storm. But here's the thing about it. If you don't allow the struggle to become who you are, you can get through it. What you constantly identify with, hear me on this, what you constantly identify on this, you unconsciously strengthen. You make it stronger because you identify with that. So I'll go back to my example. If you identify with weight loss being a struggle, and no matter what you do, this is just the way I am, then what you have done now, you have allowed that to become who you are by your words. Because remember what I said, the words you repeatedly say to and about yourself, that becomes instruction to your brain. So is it any wonder now that weight loss is an ongoing struggle instead of just an experience? Because you've trained your brain to make it a struggle all the time. Now, you can break out of that. I know some people don't like that. I know some people may not agree with me, but listen, I've looked at this. I've studied this. And as a matter of fact, I have experienced this. There is a way. There's many ways, but you just got to find one way for you. And listen, don't allow the way you find to identify with the way somebody else found, because you are two different people. Your makeup is two different ways. And what you have to understand is that repeated thoughts become your identity, and you're going to break that up. Now, listen, this is where it's so key at. So the second part that I told you about, I said your identity drives your behavior, your actions under pressure. Pressure does not create character. Pressure exposes your identity. So when you're under pressure, when you're under stress, what people do, people fall back to who they believe they are. So if you believe that, that you struggle, if you believe that you can't get out of your way, you've said that to yourself on an ongoing basis. You've said that about yourself on an ongoing basis. So now that's where you are. You perform to your identity level. The way you identify yourself, that's where you perform at. Your performance under pressure is often just a mirror of your identity under pressure. Yeah. All you're doing is looking at a mirror reflection. And I'm smiling because I know this is going to help somebody. I'm smiling not because I'm happy about this. I'm smiling because I know this is going to help you break through. If you hear what I tell you, under stress, listen, under stress, what you're going to do, you're going to fall back to the level that you believe you are. That's your identity level. You're going to fall to that. Your performance under pressure is just a mirror. That's all it is. What is it a mirror of? Listen to me. You have to have that elite mindset, and then you're going to have that elite performance. An elite mindset, elite performance, they don't allow what they think to mess with them. They get a better way of thinking. That's what I'm trying to say. So your performance under pressure is often just a mirror of the identity that you have under pressure. Professionals and leaders operate the same way. Listen to this. A person who believes I can handle this, I can get through this, I can do this, they lean into the discomfort. They don't run from it. They say, you know what? I'm gonna get this done. And here's what I want you to hear. Most ceilings, most limits that we put on ourselves, they're more mindset before they become practical. So what I got to do, I got to change my mindset. Every day, people build invisible identities for themselves. You'll hear it. All you got to do is listen to them, that you will hear them say it. They'll say things like, hey, I'm always late. Yep, I'm just late. I'm sorry. I'm just always late. They'll say things like, I cannot do this. Or they'll say things like, I'm just not that disciplined. And see, this goes back to our title. This just is who I am. Eventually, okay, it stops sounding like an observation and it becomes their identity operating system. What do you mean? If you are a person who says, I'm always late, and you say that to yourself and about yourself all the time, that becomes your identity. All it is a repeated excuse for your behavior, for your action, and now you let it become your personality trait. Yes, I know that stung, but that is the truth. Because listen, if that was the case, I guarantee you that if something was of major importance, you would be on time. You'd figure it out. You'd show up on time. But here's the thing that we don't understand. What we've done, we've allowed these observations to become the way we operate. And we have to understand that identity, and then when the pressure is on, we fall right to that identity level. So now, I've shown you where it comes from and how your brain works. I've shown you how it messes you up and kind of sets you up for failure. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to cover that third part. Identity can be retrained. I'm going to say it again. Your identity, who you identify as, can be retrained. Yes, it can. This is the part where you ought to get happy and you ought to get hopeful, because my identity of how I see myself is not fixed. It is conditioned. And just because it's conditioned, it can be reconditioned. In other words, it can change. Well, David, help me out. How do I do that? I'm going to give you 3 things and then I'm going to let you go. Number one, small wins rewrite your identity. See, this is what I understand. Your confidence is always evidence-based. Confidence comes from what you do and what you know. And so now, every time I keep my word to myself, when I get up in the morning, I say, I will be on time today. I will be this way today. Every time I do that and I keep my word to myself, I keep that promise, not that I made to anybody else, that I made to myself. My brain begins to take that information now and it says, hey, what I'm going to do with that information, I'm going to use that. So now that becomes my identity. See, this is what I say about myself, about being on time and everything. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I'm on time all the time, but I would venture to say I'm on time 95% of the time. And most of the time, I am early. Why? Because that's what I identify with. Long time ago, back in the Marine Corps, it was like, hey, if you are early, you are on time. That became what I identify with. So I would do all the necessary things to be early. And the more I did it over a 20-year career, now that's just the way it is. That's what I identify with. So when I kept my word to myself initially, was it a struggle? Was it a strain? Yes, but I got through it. Every kept promise is you yourself rewriting your identity. That's number one. Okay. Number two, you got to stop declaring permanent defeat. Hear me on this. Listen, instead of this just who I am, you're going to replace this with this is who I'm becoming. This is how I repeatedly practice. This is who I'm training to be. Patterns are powerful, but they're not permanent. What? That's right. A pattern is powerful because it's a pattern. I'm going to give you an example. My mom was a seamstress and she would buy material. I mean, she had a whole room in the house just full of material, but she had pattern after pattern after pattern. So what she would do, she would take those patterns, those pieces of paper, and she would lay it out on the material, and then she would cut it out, and she would have all these different pieces. And that was the pattern. And then she would put it together. But you know what was amazing about that? She could take that same material, get a different pattern, and come up with a whole different outfit. What I am sharing with you, you can do the exact same thing. All you got to do is start thinking differently, and you just got to replace that old pattern with a new pattern. I said patterns are powerful, but they are not permanent. You can change. Here's number three. You build your identity through standards. The standard that you hold, the standard that you keep, the standard that you live by. Everybody needs standards in their life. Everybody. And sometimes you got to have an accountability partner to help you hold to your standard. When you're first beginning this and you're not as strong, get you an accountability partner and say, hey, listen, I need you to hold me to this standard. And when you see me slip, I want you to tell me. Now, you got to be willing to accept that because many people just aren't willing to accept that. I'm willing to accept that. Why? Because it helps me. I want to be my best self. And because of that, I got to have people in my life who can speak into my life, who can say the rough things to me, and I can take it in and say, you know what? You're right. I want to do that. See, your future changes when your standards become stronger than your old story. That's right. When you start developing those standards, I'll go back to the one I talked about before, being late. Hold me to the standard of being on time and being early. And if you do, then guess what? I become a better person. Now, this is key. I want you to think about this. If your supervisor, like me, holds you to a standard of being on time or being early, and what's going to happen, that's going to help you better in the future. Is the person who doesn't hold you to that standard, that's the one you need to be leery of, because this person is basically saying, I don't care about your situation, or they're too afraid to say something because it might irritate you. You have got to have accountability people in your life who are not afraid to ruffle your feathers, who are not afraid to get you to the point where you live on standards and get a new identity. Now, I said a lot. I know I did, but I did exactly what I told you I was going to do. Number one, we talked about how repeated thoughts become your identity. We talked about how that identity drives your behavior and your actions under pressure. And then what I did, I gave you 3 ways in which you can retrain in order to have a better identity. I'm going to wrap it up by saying this right here. This is not just who I am. I am training to become my best self. And as I train to become my best self, new identity is developed and new behaviors are developed too. I hope this has helped you on today. I really do. I hope it's strengthened you. Do me a big favor and post this somewhere on your social media so it can get out to more. Thank you for always being here with me. Thank you for always sharing with me and being a part of this great thing that's going on and helping people be their very best selves. But remember this right here. You're the architect of your life. You get to design, build, and live. So it might as well be the best. I'm Coach David, and I want you to hear it from me. Thank you, and I believe in you. I will see you next week. You have a great one. Bye.